Okay, so let's get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Danling Jiang. I'm the professor of finance at College of Business. And welcome to the workshop for new students in the Stony Brook Weeks of Welcome. So today we have our panelists who are students from Stony Brook, and the professor joining me today. We're going to talk about blockchain, crypto, and Web 3.0. Okay, I co-direct the Blockchain Business Lab, which is housed under Center of Entrepreneurial Finance in the College of Business. Just a few words about what we do. Blockchain Business Lab is a platform for faculty, students to work with industry partners to explore research on business applications of the blockchain technology. It is housed under Center of Entrepreneurial Finance, which is a bigger platform for faculty research team working with students and partners to support entrepreneurs to acquire, manage, and transfer financial resources. In addition, myself has founded and direct a community-based network, stonyfinancelab.org and stonyfinlab.org, on which we share a lot of resources and career opportunities on investing, blockchain startup, and etc. So because of your registration, we're going to put on you on the free newsletter of the lab, and you can feel free to subscribe or unsubscribe based on the content sent to you. Okay, so under the stonyfinlab.org website, we have a page dedicated to blockchain and cryptos, and we have a one-page of readings for beginners. We call crash courses, course for blockchain and crypto beginners. And under the page for blockchain and cryptos, we have a lot of resources we collected to help you to learn about the space. Okay. So today I'm going to do a 15 minutes presentation on the general blockchain and crypto space. And Evan Kim, who is from AMS, Applied Mathematics and Statistics. He's a student here in Stony Brook. He's going to talk about Web 3.0. And then we have Lolita Nazarov. She's an AMS and CS student, and she's going to talk about music NFTs. And we have Marija Coko, who is from MSF program, and she's going to talk about crypto exchanges for New York State residents. Then we're going to open that for discussion and doing Q&A. Okay, so I'll start with an introduction of the general blockchain space. If you have never learned what is blockchain, then basically it's a distributed public ledger that is cryptographically secured, right? So in the past, right now we call Web 2.0, and every individual is connected to some centralized ledger. And on blockchain space, every individual will be connected to everyone, every node on the network. So there is no centralized ledger to host, let everybody communicate. Okay, so transactions that take place on the blockchain space will be stored in blocks. So this is data block, and each block will be added to a chain of existing blocks. So if there's any change in the transaction, the block will change. So that's the way to secure the transaction integrity using this technology. Okay, and in enables secure transaction. One of the most important applications of blockchain technology is the cryptocurrency, right? So we have heard about Bitcoin, Ethereum. They are most important examples of cryptocurrency, but in general, digital assets can be transacted on the blockchain. In addition, the blockchain technology has another application on decentralized autonomous organizations. Some of our students are going to talk about this, and it's going to totally transform the way businesses work nowadays. It allows peer-to-peer transaction in a much cheaper and secure and instant fashion. And important features of the public blockchain is the chain that everybody can use without permission. We can view the entire history of the ledger, right? So you can verify the information. For instance, if you go to this website called blockchain.com Explorer, and you can see every transaction that's taking place on Bitcoin blockchain. And hash is another term to describe basically the computing power on the blockchain. And also blockchain enables is relying on a consensus mechanism. So for Bitcoin or most of the first generation blockchains, they rely on proof of work, which is basically the computational cost to produce each hash to prove you are a good participant in the network. But in the newer versions of the public blockchain now, more and more of the chains are shifting towards proof of stake, which is basically allowing crypto holders to have different priority or odds of transaction verification. Okay, the more tokens you hold, the more likely you will be selected to prove and verify a transaction in order to earn the transaction cost. Okay, so Bitcoin is the first application of the blockchain technology. It was invented by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. So now it is emerging as a potential global private monetary network. Okay, so Bitcoin, it can be considered as digital money because it is hoping to serve as a store of value, and it also has units of accounts. Each Bitcoin now today is $40,000, but you can buy a mini Bitcoins, which is 1/1000th of a Bitcoin. Or you can buy Satoshis, which is 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, right? And the money supply of the Bitcoin is dictated by computer code or algorithm, cannot be altered easily by any single party or agency in the world, right? So it's capped at 21 million Bitcoins, and so far 19 millions have been mined and in circulation. So now I'm going to borrow a bunch of slides from the most recent ARK Invest Big Ideas Summit 2020. And I have the website here. So if you are interested, and you can check out the website and also YouTube video for the recording, right? So they talk about the potential growth of the space in the next 10 years. So I'm going to borrow some of the slides from that summit, right? So in old days, we once thought that internet is a new channel among other things. So internet is a parallel to TV, radio, and newspaper. But after 20 years of development of internet has become the infrastructure for what we call Web 2.0, right? So we have online everything, online radio, TV, news, and podcast, e-commerce, our cell phone, right? Essentially has the whole world in it. And public blockchain can be considered to be another new layer of infrastructure for the future of crypto or blockchain world, right? So on top of public blockchains, and new assets and new use cases have been developed, including, for instance, cryptocurrency, crypto equities, crypto commodities, and crypto arts, which is NFT. We also can have DAO, autonomous organizations to run basically all the businesses or nonprofit transactions. Okay, so those are essentially the things we're going to talk about today, right? So I'll start with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, we have multiple different categories. For instance, we have Bitcoin serving as store value. We have Ripple serving as medium of exchange. So they're focusing on the transaction mechanism. We also have Ethereum, Binance, Cardano, Solana, etc. They are basically distributed computational token, and they represent the token value on separate blockchains. We can also have stable coins. They are pegged to US dollars, for instance, 1-to-1, which includes USDC or Tether. We also have other tokens representing utility, representing underlying securities, representing arts, and so on and so forth. But in those cases, we don't call them cryptocurrency, we call them crypto equity or crypto arts. And so in general, we call them cryptos. Right. So this is the pie for the market share of the major cryptocurrencies as of at the end of last year. And you can see that Bitcoin is the most important one, and followed by Ethereum. This is the data graph from yesterday, and this is the top 7 cryptocurrencies. Again, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, followed by Binance. A lot of them, nearly all of them, except the stable coins, they are tokens on native blockchains, right? And this is also another slide from the ARK Invest, and we can consider public blockchains. They are essentially launching several revolutions, right? And the money revolution, which is we are now have a competitor of the fiat system. Now we have private digital monetary network, right? And so this is maybe a transition from fiat or a competition of fiat relative to the global decentralized monetary network. In addition, public blockchain allows us to launch a financial revolution. Traditionally, we have to deal with the bank. We have to deal with financial intermediaries. But on blockchain, we may not need any financial intermediaries. We can conduct peer-to-peer finance transactions using decentralized finance algorithm or protocols. And also now we heard about the growth, the internet revolution, which is basically talking about in the past, we are having corporate owned platforms. Now on Web 3.0, we have user owned web. Right? So that's the 3 dimensions of revolution that's taking place on blockchain. Right. So in the traditional Web 1.0, when we started to have website and we have to pay to play, right? That's the pay to play model. Then we have to purchase the opportunity, right? The rights to use the internet to do the games at a fixed cost. In Web 2.0, right? So many of the games are free to play, right? You don't pay them, but unless you want to purchase the gears in the game. But in the new Web 3.0, and we actually can play to earn, right? So you can play a game on internet and you can earn money and earn tokens through your participation in the network, right? So that's revolutionary because it's totally changing the ownership, incentive, and structure of organizations and businesses. So let me summarize. So blockchain can be considered to be a revolutionary new technology, which reshapes how people transact in the world, right? And they are likely to stay and become a innovation platform. Cryptocurrency is a major application of blockchain technology, with Bitcoin being the first and the most important application. And we're going to talk about the accelerated innovation in the blockchain space on Web 3.0. And we do believe that there is accelerated growth potential as well as opportunities for a lot of people, including you, to be part of this and to enjoy the benefits and to contribute to the space. Okay, so here I'm going to share with you the website. If you go to your chat box, the website of Blockchain Business Lab, Center of Entrepreneurial Finance, and stonyfinancelab.org, and go to our website so you can start reading for beginners and start to educate yourself using many of the free resources online, right? So now let's move to my collaborator here. So we'll have first Evan, and then followed by Lolita, then Anna, to talk about different aspects of 3.0 and blockchain space. So I'm gonna stop sharing and let Evan take it over.
All right, thank you very much for the introduction, and I'd like to also extend a warm welcome to all of you new people who are here to learn at Stony Brook University. So welcome. And a little bit about me. My name is Evan, and I am, like was previously mentioned, an AMS major in an applied math major at Stony Brook University. This is my last semester here, and I also work full-time in the crypto space. I currently am a portfolio engineer at a new protocol, and I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of like bring my experiences and kind of wrap that into what Professor Jiang was talking about how cryptocurrencies are driving a revolution in the world. And a lot of people feel it, especially, it's not something you really understand until you're inside of it. And then once you're inside of it, you realize, why would I ever go back to the way things were? And you just kind of get trapped in the whole new world. And so the title of my talk is The Golden Age of Innovation. And rather than claiming that we are in a golden age of innovation, the argument is actually that we need to be in a golden age of innovation in order to be successful in the 22nd century. So thinking about just taking a very big point of view about what this century is going to bring us, you know, the internet is a very new phenomenon, and I think it should be the 21st century. But so like in the 20th century, the internet was born kind of towards the very end, and this new millennium, you know, we are 20 years into it, and we've already seen a lot of amazing technological innovation happen. And one of the problems with that is that as a result of all of this innovation through capitalism, it has left the income inequality between the people who are a part of the innovation and the people who are not part of the innovation at very, very wide, like opposite ends of the spectrum. So in the world, there's about 8 billion people, and about 700 million people live in luxury. And by luxury, I mean, you know, anybody who lives in the US, anybody who lives in the middle class of China, middle class of Europe, and of course the upper classes. There are a lot of people though that do not live in luxury, where you have utilities that you can even afford, not even that you can afford, but that exist in the first place, like electricity, internet, access to a banking system to even have any kind of financial security, let alone like clean water, food surplus, environmentally friendly conditions like, you know, air pollution and smog. The majority of people do not have this kind of luxury. And in this century, unless we do something to fix this inequality gap, this is just going to be a bigger problem, as there's just going to be more and more people who are not able to reach their fullest, their highest levels of humanity. Like they won't be able to reach their potential for what they can do if they were in a better position. And we've already seen this a lot, especially in kind of the globalization of the world and in the increasingly limited resources that are on Earth that we are now starting to fight for, as you know, there's just less and less room on Earth, and it just is smaller because of the internet and because we're all interconnected more than ever before. And so, you know, how can we make the resources that we have efficient so that we can spread more of all of the great things that technology brings to the rest of the billions of people around the Earth, so that we can coexist peacefully, and we can really rise up as a human civilization all together. Because honestly, if all of these people, continue to stay in poverty, then, and there's just a small group of people who are safe from this, is that really a world that you would want to live in? And I think if you asked most of the people, you asked a bunch of people around the world, I think the resounding answer is no, we don't want to live in this kind of a world. This is not a good world. And so what's like a better world that we could live in? And this is where cryptocurrencies and the crypto space kind of brings a potential solution to all of this inequality, because as a crypto native, there are it's a kind of a shift for what you can do and how you live your life. And in a way, similar to being a revolution, jumping into the crypto world is essentially obtaining freedom from the traditional world that we already live in. And I think that's a very important concept to think about. Do you want to live in a better world? And if so, where does that exist? And the answer is it exists in this, this kind of virtual crypto world that I'm going to talk a little bit more about right now. And so there's kind of three big areas inside of this world: DeFi, which stands for Decentralized Finance; NFTs, Non-Fungible Tokens. You can think of them as digital assets. So, just any digital thing: music, video, artwork, books, research papers, mortgages, just anything that is a contract and that is an asset can essentially be digitized. And then I'll end with the Web 3.0 economy and all of the opportunities that exist that everyone can be thinking about as they go through their undergrad and graduate educations at Stony Brook. So decentralized finance is where I work. So I'm a portfolio engineer at this protocol called Concave, and we're innovating different kind. And one of the things that we do in DeFi is we kind of innovate on the existing financial system. So the financial system right now is not very inclusive. If you think about all of the opportunities that rich people have, you can invest in startups, you can take out loans at cheaper interest rates, you have better credit scores. This is great if you already have that, but if you don't, this sucks because it's very hard to get into this system. A lot of like the generation that I'm from, like we have sky-high student debts, real estate prices continue to rise, and wages are not rising at the same pace as all of the different lifestyle expenses, such as healthcare, just eating and affording a basic life, like having a house, being able to support a family, and then even sending those future kids to school. It's not something that really works right now. And one of the problems with all of the rules and regulations within the system is that they come from a different century. All of these laws were put in place before the internet existed. And so it makes a lot of sense why these laws need to either be updated or removed entirely to be able to facilitate for all of the new technology that has appeared in the world in the past couple of decades. And so a big part of decentralized finance, I would say, and like what I do at my job, is to look at ways to innovate the economic systems that have really been run for the past thousands of years. Like if you think about, how did the ancient Roman Empire currency system work? How is that similar to the US economic system today? How is that similar to China, the USSR, all of these other great powers? And, they all eventually failed. They all fell. The US hasn't fallen yet, but history shows that everyone tends to fall at some point or the other. And one of the potential solutions to this, I would say, is being able to use algorithms and smart contracts, all of this programming-based code, to create a very strong foundation that a global financial system that is more inclusive, more accessible, has just better financial products at the end of the day, and making that the best that it can be to support the billions of people that don't have bank accounts, the other billions of people who are poor and want to save up money so that they can live a better lifestyle and, you know, have a family and be able to support, like, be optimistic for the future, basically. So that's about a little bit about decentralized finance. The next part is non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. And so there are just digital assets, just like how you have a picture on Instagram, or you have a video on TikTok, or even you submit a report or a homework. That is also a digital asset that you are submitting to the school. And all of these digital assets in the current age, in the current Web 2.0 space, are all controlled by central entities. You know, you don't own any of your content on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Google. You know, you don't even technically own any of your documents that you use for school. You don't own any of that. Google really owns all of that. And so the ownership, the freedom of owning, like the ability to own your own assets, and the freedom to say, this is what you want to do with it. And, you know, if you don't want to get it taken away, you don't have to, because you own it. That's kind of the power that NFTs bring into the world now, because it shifts the sense of ownership from a centralized company where a small portion of people that work there and that have invested in it get to get all of the money from all of the data analytics and, you know, economies of scale. That gets shifted to the individual, so the individual can start to enjoy some of these benefits that have really not been previously accessible up until this point in human history. The next part is just composability. So the idea of this composability aspect is, let's say you have like a video on TikTok and you want to move that video to Facebook or Instagram, and then you want to ship that, you want to like edit that video a little bit more and then put it on Twitter. There's not really an easy way to do that right now, but NFTs offer the solution where you can create the digital asset and then you can move it between systems relatively easily, because everything is on the blockchain. And just how the blockchain mechanics works, it allows you to use your digital assets in many different places without having to go through so many hoops and hurdles just to get it, you know, catered towards a specific platform. And that leads me to the last point about the freedom to be creative. One of the big aspects of blockchain technologies is that they're censorship resistant. And so if you feel like there is a controversial thing that you want to express, like a controversial point of view, you're afraid of some hate speech, or you're afraid of it getting taken down, or you're afraid of people even like you're afraid of like what the reception is going to be. The NFTs give you this opportunity to not really have to be afraid of that anymore, because you don't have, like, you own your asset. And so it becomes more part of you and what you want to bring out into the world. And, you know, it's on the blockchain, it kind of stays there forever. And so it also kind of creates a digital resume that you can look back on like 10 years from now, like, this is what you wanted to do. These were your thoughts. This is how you shared it with the world. And, you know, 10 years from now, it's still yours. If it was on one of the centralized media companies, it might not be yours anymore. But on the blockchain, you can be assured that this is yours well into the future. 10, 20, 30 years from now, you can look back and you can say, like, this is still mine, and no one can take it away from me. And that includes not only the digital asset, but the idea of the digital asset itself that you create as a creator. Finally, I'll wrap up with kind of where are all the job opportunities with all of this explosive growth going on. You know, where can you get more involved? One of the best ways to get involved is to reach out to Professor Kim or Professor Jiang here at Stony Brook. And we have, like Professor Jiang mentioned, a blockchain business lab, and we have a center of entrepreneurial finance where we're very focused on stuff like this innovative technology, and trying to help students get more knowledge for, you know, what skills they need to be in this kind of an industry and to thrive, where to find the right information, networking contacts, et cetera, et cetera. So going through some points, the crypto job postings grew There was a study done on LinkedIn, and they just looked at generic crypto job postings, 400% in 2021. Compare that to regular tech jobs. Those regular tech jobs grew at about 100% year over year. So crypto postings are growing 4x faster than regular technological jobs. This does not even include the underground economy that is being created by decentralized autonomous organizations, the DAOs, where these job postings aren't even on job boards, and there are still hundreds and thousands of people that are entering these new jobs every day that a place like LinkedIn can never even know of or even keep track of. And so really this number, this 400% number, is probably closer to 1,000% if you think about all of the rest of the jobs that are being accessible, that people want for their different projects in the crypto space. And venture capital has been leading the investment in crypto, not any other governments. It's just been private money, and they invested 33 billion in crypto globally in 2021. Compare that to European startups who received $120 billion. That might sound like a lot, but VC capital investment into crypto projects grew 450%. European startups only grew 150%. And so, at the current growth rates, it's kind of questionable, or would you rather be in a slower growing area or a faster growing area? And I think that this pace it's not a bubble, it's a long-term trend, because these VCs that invest in these larger companies, they invest for multiple periods, and they also have plans to invest in multiple stages. And so if you give like $100 million to a big crypto startup, you're not just gonna not give them any more money. And the next time that they raise money, it's going to be even more, and VCs will be happy to give it to them because this is where they see the biggest opportunity to invest for asymmetrical returns right now. And finally, OpenSea is an NFT marketplace, and the NFTs were a relatively unknown concept 2 years ago. So like when I started at Stony Brook in 2019, nobody knew what an NFT was. And now I'm a senior and I'm graduating, and now your favorite celebrity has an NFT profile picture on Twitter, most likely. That's how mainstream it's become. And to highlight the explosive growth, the number of people who trade on OpenSea has grown 300x in 2021 to over 1 million people from 30,000 at the beginning of the year. Incredibly large numbers. And if you think about all of this growth and then how small the cryptocurrency ecosystem is with respect to the rest of the world, if you add up all the market caps of the biggest coins, it's about $2 trillion. And in comparison, Tesla and Apple are, Tesla, I think, is about as large as the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem, just for a size comparison. And so we're seeing explosive growth here that's fueling a lot of innovation, where people are tired of the old world and they want to do something to make the world a better place for the future generation. And this is where they have the freedom, both from a creative point of view, from a, you don't have to listen to your boss. It's a bottoms up approach where the workers bring up the good idea and the bosses just coordinate you with the right people, instead of the bosses telling you what to do and then you doing that. And then also, I guess, like financial security as well, where there's just more money than can be spent in crypto right now. And with the trend of all of this capital investment coming in from venture capital and, soon other financial institutions, as more rules and regulations develop around how you can actually invest in this space, the funding is only going to continue to grow. And so at the end of the day, the most important resource in this new economy is actually you guys, the human capital, the creative ideas. Like how, if you want to like have the freedom and break out from a traditional job approach, like you go to school, you get your resume ready, you apply to different corporate jobs, you work a 9 to 5. If you don't want to do that, then this is a really, really good alternative where, you know, the work is remote. You don't really even need a resume. It's not about what you put on the resume. It's about what you learn and what you're capable of doing. And, you know, you don't have to really even know anything to begin with. You just really need to have the curiosity to wanting to learn more about how the systems work. And then also there's just a whole nother level that I don't really have time to get into about how even working in crypto works. Just that there's a lot of freedom to really carve out your own space, similar to how like the gold rush in the 1850s, where everybody was moving to California because they knew that the gold existed. They didn't know necessarily where, but they were willing to look for it and to find that gold, and then to buy a nice little, you know, property or a place to call their own, where they could then, you know, live more happily, have more security, have more comfort, and just be able to live a good, fulfilling, long life. And with that, that is kind of the end of my talk, and I will turn it over to Lolita.
All right, thanks, Evan. That was a great presentation. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, there we go. All right, so that was a great presentation. Thank you so much. And thank you, Professor Jiang, for introducing me. So my name is Lolita Nazarov. I am a computer science and applied math major. And I'm going to be talking about mostly music NFTs and a preliminary analysis from data that was extrapolated from OpenSea. So my main motivation for doing this project is that so the music industry right now is kind of suffering. It's a highly centralized industry, and there's 3 major record labels, Sony, Warner, and Universal, that control the lion's share of the industry with an estimated like 70 to 80% of market share. So this provides to be very, very inequitable for musicians. And so NFTs are a really great use case for the music industry. It presents an opportunity for artists to deliver their music to music fans directly without the need for a third-party intermediary such as a record label. And overall, in the first 4 months of 2021, the NFT volume, you know, is exceeded like $2 billion. So it's a great opportunity for this industry to take part in NFTs. And so the questions that I aim to, you know, like answer in this exploration is, you know, who owns the music NFTs and how can you measure its utility, and how do we measure like how successful an NFT can become? So actually, so this is a workflow of an NFT diagram, and if anyone is like interested in how it works, basically, like, sorry, long story short, an owner can check the file, and they can put anything. You can pretty much put any digital asset as an NFT. So what happens is you can digitize the raw data into a proper format and then store it inside of a database outside the blockchain. If you do it on the blockchain, you have to pay a gas fee. And then, you know, this gets sent over to a smart contract, and then the smart contract receives the transaction with the NFT data, and then you can start the minting and trading process. So it's pretty, it's very easy to DIY your own like physical assets, which is why, you know, NFTs for music is not just tailored towards professional musicians, but towards like pretty much anybody. So Evan also briefly touched upon OpenSea. But so this is a like a decentralized digital marketplace for buying and selling NFTs. And the top, however so many number of NFTs are sorted by trading volume. So I chose to collect 13 collections, all based off of this one protocol that I'll talk about later. And so basically, OpenSea conveniently provides an API for developers for fetching non-fungible tokens that are based off of the ERC 721 or ERC 1155 assets. And those are just protocols for NFTs, which are different from ERC 20, which is used for Bitcoin and things that are fungible. And so these are just some examples of like the album cover of some of the music NFTs that I was able to source. There's many more. And maybe you can recognize some of them, like The Weeknd did a crossover with Strange Loop Studios to actually launch his own NFT. And Calvin Harris is also another artist. All the rest of them are kind of just like DIY artists or people that just decided to put an NFT into a collection and they somehow got famous, or they somehow like got, they were able to like game the system and now they have like a lot of money. So I was talking about like this OpenSea API, but if you use Dune Analytics, which is a platform for querying Ethereum data, you actually don't need to use this OpenSea API because this is a web-based platform for querying Ethereum data by just making simple SQL queries. So instead of writing specialized script, so you can just query the database immediately to extract almost any information that's residing on the blockchain and then get like CSV data from it. And so this is the database that I like happen to use. It's called Wyvern Exchange. And basically what this is this is a protocol. And I used one protocol for all 13 NFTs just to keep it like a controlled variable. And so in order to trade digital assets in the first place, the one thing that you need is a protocol. And all this does is it facilitates like trustless peer-to-peer exchange of NFT assets. Without this, you cannot trade NFTs. And so this is the protocol that I used. Okay, so, sorry. So this is just an example of like some of the, data that I extrapolated. From OpenSea, you can track pretty much anything, the change in price over 7 days, over 24 hours, the floor price, USD volume. And so the floor price is the lowest amount of money that you're able to spend to become a member of a project. And it's usually set by the individual who owns an NFT in a specific project. And it's listing the NFT for sale at a price cheaper than the other sellers. So as you can see here, actually there's a spike in the floor price, and this was actually done by like this contract address, and it was set by Ultraviolet Vinyl Collection by 3Wow, who's actually a famous person who decided to sell his NFTs. So that means that somebody actually along the line decided to sell this NFT for set the floor price for way higher for selling in the future. And this could happen, which is why it's kind of very, very unpredictable. And all of this is like a random process. And so for this, and so if you look at the monthly USD volume on OpenSea, you can see that in the beginning of this year, the volume just skyrocketed. You can't even see other volumes. There's actually volumes available for every single month, but like this $150 million volume renders the rest of the bars almost invisible. So that just means probably a lot of NFTs started to launch, their own collections like in the beginning of the year, or people just got very interested. And so I think that, like I said before, like music NFTs could be classified into two categories: ones that are established by a renowned musician, and those that were created by members of the NFT community that decided to put up a collection. So these NFTs on the slide were actually created by members of the community. And there are only 3 out of the 13 music NFTs chosen that were created by renowned musicians. We see a skewed right distribution, which means that the majority of NFTs were frantically traded upon their release date. And we would need to analyze this like further to see why, because actually for the NFT collections that were created by big time artists, it's not a spike. It's actually very, very uniform distribution. So a lot of people were like always continually interested in it. And also it's worth knowing what's driving the hype behind the market and which people are contributing to the growth of these NFTs. Like this data shows that NFT market is open in the sense that majority of participants are actually small time purchasers. Like they'll buy 1 or maybe 2 NFTs. And like if you look at this, at this table, you can see that like the top like 17% of NFT owners control like 80% of the NFTs. So it follows a period of distribution. And then like one guy owns like 1,000 NFTs. I don't know what he does with all of them, but yeah, so also lastly, it's worth also analyzing like the amount of holders over time to see which kind of NFT collections are successful, and at which point do holders begin to sell NFT? Like, do they sell it when they see a surge in growth of users, or is it just like arbitrary? Well, looking at this, you see that for the DIY NFT collectors, there's usually like, you know, a lot of people will buy the NFT at the launch date, and then the number of holders will stay like constant. It's a plateau. And buy and hold is a passive investment strategy in which an investor like buys a cryptocurrency and holds it for a long period. So it looks like these are more buy and hold people, and maybe for the larger artists, they would, you know, they would continuously produce more NFTs, so there are greater holders over time. And maybe the plateau could be like attributed to a fixed number of assets that an owner could release, so it's worth looking into further. And so for further work, it's definitely worth doing correlational analysis between floor price and volume to see like, is there a higher correlation in successful NFTs between floor price and volume? Like looking at the features of NFTs that make them so successful is also very, very, you know, it'll be valuable for the future. And then if we could construct a network of NFTs to make sure if there's a relationship between certain NFTs being sold, does one NFT being sold contribute to another NFT also being as popular? And so all of these things are just, you know, things to keep in common, because the music industry has a huge, there's so much analysis. Spotify has its own, you know, R&D department with like, you know, people that predict the next big hit. And I think like NFTs should have like some very similar, you know, like big analysis space to look into. So yeah, and with that, I'll pass on over to Anna.
I'm so sorry. So my name is Anna Marija, and I'm a MS in Finance student at Stony Brook University. And I did a small research on crypto trading in New York State. So the thing that is most important is bit license. Bit license is the common term used for a business license for virtual currencies activities with a lengthy list of terms and conditions. In general, it defines the major rules on businesses operating with digital currencies, such as virtual currencies control, administration, maintenance, storing, holding, etc. What does this mean for you? So this means, that for you as an individual investors, this means that you have limited cryptocurrencies centralized exchanges options, and therefore you have limited number of cryptocurrencies available for trading. However, I collected all four centralized cryptocurrencies exchanges that are allowed in New York State. And now I will move to my Excel document. So you can always ask Professor for this Excel document if you need it. There you can see that we have Coinbase, Coinbase Pro, Gemini, and Bitstamp, and you have all important informations on them, like number of cryptocurrencies supported, features, fees, mobile app, wallets, active users, etc. Also, on this Excel document, you can find other bit license entities in New York State, which are less important for you because they are mainly for companies and institutional investors. That would be it. Thank you very much.